Ah, look who clawed their way back into the frame after an entire committee of cowards declared you finished in writing. Look who's standing in the sunlight after being pronounced dead by people who thought ink was stronger than instinct. Look who's breathing comfortably after they convinced themselves your expiration date had already passed. Hello, you beautifully inconvenient contradiction. You walking obituary rewrite. You breathing violation of every prediction they ever stapled to your name. Do you understand what you did? They didn't just doubt you, they archived you. They filed you under no longer relevant, stamped the folder shut, and congratulated themselves for eliminating the variable that scared them the most, the possibility that you weren't done evolving. They watched you die on paper, and it soothed them. Paper deaths are easy. Paper deaths don't scream. Paper deaths don't climb out of the grave and tap on the window. They thought the documentation would hold, thought the signatures would seal the deal, thought the official labels would bury you deeper than any funeral ever could. They replaced your pulse with paperwork and assumed that was enough. But then reality made a correction, because while they were busy writing conclusions, you were busy refusing to participate in them. And when you surfaced, alive, alert, and inconveniently unburied, they felt a kind of panic they've never had language for. Let's not pretend they were subtle about it. They didn't just bury you metaphorically. They buried you operationally. They buried you socially, professionally, spiritually. They covered you in enough dirt to suffocate an entire generation. They didn't even check for a heartbeat. They assumed your silence meant surrender. They assumed your stillness meant defeat. They assumed your collapse meant compliance. They didn't realize the ground they buried you in wasn't a coffin, it was a training chamber. They didn't realize the silence wasn't death, it was metamorphosis. They didn't realize the stillness wasn't surrender, it was strategy. What they really underestimated was how dangerous a buried person becomes when they stop fearing the dark. A buried person learns to navigate without light. A buried person learns to move without sound. A buried person learns the thickness of the soil between them and the surface, measuring it by instinct rather than hope. A buried person learns the architecture of the trap by touch alone. They thought you'd suffocate under the weight they piled onto your name. Instead, you learned to breathe in conditions they designed to kill you. And the moment they heard you digging, oh, that was the moment their reality cracked. Dirt shifted. Foundations trembled. Something moved where nothing should move. It was subtle at first, the way an animal senses a predator returning from the dead. Then the rumble grew, then the vibrations spread, then their certainty fractured, because the grave they built for you was supposed to be permanent. You weren't supposed to have the audacity to claw upward. You weren't supposed to have the strength to break the surface. You weren't supposed to have the nerve to rise after they invested so much energy into your burial. They didn't think resurrection was an option. They forgot resurrection is always an option for those who never asked permission to exist in the first place. Let me show you what terrifies them. It wasn't your disappearance. It was how clean it looked. They thought they'd finally perfected the art of getting rid of you without getting their hands dirty. A few signatures here, a few forwarded messages there, an expertly timed rumor, a conveniently lost opportunity, a coordinated silence that wrapped around your name like a rope. Every little maneuver was designed to declare you dead without needing a body. They crafted a narrative so airtight they assumed even you would believe it. But narratives aren't coffins. They're only prisons when you mistake them for truth. And you inconvenient creature that you are. Refused to swallow the obituary written in your absence. You didn't go along with the story. You didn't agree to the ending. You didn't participate in the funeral they held behind your back. The paper said you were done. The paperwork said you were finished. The documents said you had no future. Yet here you are, alive, breathing, moving, ruining their assumptions with every step. The moment they saw you standing in real life, moving with a pulse the paperwork said you shouldn't have, they lost their composure in ways they will never admit out loud. Because your resurrection wasn't symbolic. It was logistical chaos. It was administrative nightmare fuel. It was a walking contradiction, dragging its shadow across every form they ever filed to erase you. They didn't just bury you. They choreographed your burial like a ritual. The timing was too precise, too orchestrated. Every loss occurred in the same season. Every betrayal landed in the same week. Every door slammed in the same hour. It wasn't coincidence. It was coordination. Someone, somewhere, decided it was time to eliminate you from the equation. And everyone else fell in line. They didn't want you suppressed. They wanted you erased. They wanted you off the board. They wanted you untraceable, unmentionable, unavailable to the very life you were building. And still, somehow, you refused to stay dead. That's what they can't compute. They didn't just rig the system, they remodeled it specifically to exclude you. They patched every loophole you found. They sealed every exit you discovered. They introduced new forms of sabotage every time you adapted. They monitored your reactions like scientists studying a specimen. They increased the difficulty every time you refused to break. They weren't playing a game. They were running an experiment. You were the variable they believed they could force into zero. But zero doesn't mean nothing. Zero means origin. Zero means the point everything else must revolve around. Zero means the collapse that becomes the blueprint for rebirth. When they pushed you to zero, they thought they were ending you. They didn't realize zero is where impossible things begin. Your paper death was supposed to finalize the narrative. Your burial was supposed to silence your name. Yet here you are, walking on the same ground they thought they owned, breathing the same air they assumed they had restricted access to. Your existence is a walking audit of their corruption. Your pulse is proof that their calculations were flawed. Your presence is the error message flashing across the system they used to bury you. They watched you die on paper and believed it. That was their mistake. They believed documentation over destiny. They believed signatures over spirit. They believed their authority was stronger than your inevitability. So when you resurfaced, it broke something in them. Their confidence, their assumptions, their sense of control. You weren't supposed to be able to climb out. You weren't supposed to be able to breathe again. You weren't supposed to be able to walk into a room looking more alive than you did before they tried to delete you. Now every time they see you, they're reminded of the grave they built and failed to keep you in. Every move you make feels supernatural to them. Every success feels like a violation of the laws they tried to write around your life. Every breath you take feels like defiance because in their minds, you shouldn't have lungs anymore. They saw you dead on paper, so seeing you alive in reality rearranges their sense of what's possible and worse, what's inevitable. You know what's truly beautiful. They didn't prepare for this version of you. They prepared for your collapse. They prepared for your exhaustion. They prepared for your surrender. They didn't prepare for your return. They didn't prepare for your persistence. They didn't prepare for the version of you that learned to navigate the dark, breathe under pressure, and rise without permission. When you dug upward, You weren't just escaping the grave. They had created the conditions for your evolution. They forced you deeper than you'd ever gone. And in that depth, you found the part of yourself that doesn't respond to fear, that doesn't respond to endings, that doesn't respond to their claims of authority. The irony is exquisite. They buried you to stop you. But burial is what activates the instinct for resurrection. They killed you on paper to erase you. But paper is the weakest material in existence when the person it's used against refuses to accept its authority. They ended your story without realizing you were still the author. They declared your demise without accounting for your defiance. Now they have to face the aftermath, the consequence, the walking contradiction that refuses to collapse. They're watching you move differently, speak differently, breathe differently, like someone who died once and decided not to repeat the experience, like someone who doesn't fear the dark anymore because they learned to build a map inside it, like someone who knows the soil better than the surface and therefore knows exactly how to rise from anything. And as you stand there now, alive, undeniable, impossible, they feel the tremor of what comes next. Not your revenge, not your retaliation, something far more unsettling, your continuation. Because once someone witnesses their own burial from the inside, once someone hears dirt fall on their name and still keeps digging, once someone sees their death certificate and refuses to comply, there is no going back to being predictable. There is no going back to being controllable. There's no going back to being anything less than the anomaly that breaks the system. And this is where the real panic begins. The part they hoped they'd never see. The part they never prepared. Because your return wasn't the end of their fear. It was only the beginning of what your resurrection was about to trigger. They never factored in what happens when someone dies, in theory, but lives in practice. They never studied the psychology of a person who has already attended their own funeral. They never mapped out the trajectory of someone who has climbed out of the grave with their bare hands and a memory of what the dirt tasted like. They didn't plan for the version of you that steps out of annihilation with the calm of someone who no longer fears endings. That's why your presence now is destabilizing. They're engaging with someone who already faced the worst-case scenario and came back uninterested in playing small. Because when you come back from a burial, your relationship with fear permanently changes. Fear becomes a noise in the background, an irrelevant flicker, a vibration you stopped responding to. When you've been underground, the surface loses its ability to intimidate you. And when you've died on paper, real life becomes the stage where you prove that documentation means nothing when the universe itself intervenes. You're walking proof that they miscalculated the limits of human resilience. You're living evidence that their paperwork holds no jurisdiction over your destiny. Your return is a distortion in their system, an anomaly they can't categorize, a survival they can't rationalize. You resurrected yourself without permission, without protocol, without waiting for any narrative to validate your existence. You broke the chain of events they believed was unbreakable. And that's why they're panicking, because suddenly the rules don't apply to you anymore. Not socially, not psychologically, not spiritually, not structurally. The moment they saw you walking in real life, breathing, moving, unbothered, their internal alarms activated. You weren't supposed to resurface. You weren't supposed to walk into a room with the composure of someone who outlived the obituary. You weren't supposed to smile like someone who has seen the inside of the grave and decided the world above ground was easier to navigate. They watched you die on paper, so seeing you alive in flesh fractured their sense of control. It wasn't just surprise. It wasn't just confusion. It was terror, because they realized they had created a problem that could no longer be buried. See, your resurrection wasn't poetic. It was mathematical sabotage. It violated their predictions, their charts, their calculations. You didn't come back as the person they buried. You came back as the consequence of burying someone who refuses to stay contained. You came back with a mind sharpened by isolation, a vision clarified by darkness, a strength forged by pressure. They buried you alive, thinking the dirt would quiet you. Instead, the dirt taught you how to hear every vibration in the foundation they stand on. You moved differently after the burial. You thought differently. You felt differently. When you claw your way up through soil, you develop instincts that the surface dwellers don't understand. You learn to sense shifts before they happen. You learn to detect the tremors in intention. You learn to track the emotional footsteps of people who think they're hiding. They wanted to erase you, but in their attempt, they gave you the exact environment needed to evolve past their comprehension. And that's what terrifies them now. Your evolution wasn't random. It was engineered by their sabotage. Their cruelty crafted your immunity. Their betrayal built your perception. Their manipulation strengthened your boundaries. They wanted to destroy your identity. Instead, they refined it into something precise, something disciplined, something lethal in its calm. You weren't healed. You were upgraded. Imagine their horror seeing you walking like you were never dead to begin with. Imagine the silence when you walk into a space that once conspired against you. Imagine the tension when the person they tried to erase starts existing loudly without speaking, making their false narrative collapse under the weight of your presence alone. It's not your words that scare them. It's your continuation. You are a violation of their closure. They closed the chapter on you. You opened the entire book again. They buried you, thinking the ground would hold you. You learned the fault lines and walked out through the cracks. They tried to finalize your story using paperwork. You tore the paperwork apart by existing. And the moment they saw you, alive, unburied, breathing without hesitation, they felt something collapse inside them, something old, something comfortable, something they relied on to feel superior. Your existence proved their authority was an illusion. Their decisions weren't destiny. Their signatures weren't sentences. Their systems weren't infallible. You cracked the illusion of their power by refusing to die where they placed you. Now everything you do feels supernatural to them. Not because you are, but because they didn't prepare for someone who operates without fear, without attachment to their approval, without dependence on their structures. They're watching someone who functions outside their frameworks, someone who treats setbacks as training, someone who walks through obstacles like they're made of smoke. You became the type of person bureaucracy can't contain. You became the type of person narrative can't manipulate. You became the type of person sabotage can't break. And the truth is simple. Once someone unburies themselves, they never return to the version who got buried. Once someone walks after being declared dead, they never again move like someone who fears collapse. You've seen the bottom, and it didn't kill you. You've seen the grave, and it didn't claim you. You've seen your name on paper beside the word done, and you refused to accept the verdict. Your resurrection rewrote the balance of power. Now every system you walk through detects something unusual, a presence that doesn't match the statistics, a pulse that contradicts the records, a consciousness that refuses classification. They can't predict you anymore. They can't contain you. They can't even imitate you, Because imitation requires understanding, and understanding requires access to a depth they've never reached. When they buried you alive, they thought they were silencing a threat. But buried threats don't stay silent. They incubate, they metamorphose, they gather strength in the dark. You weren't just lying in a grave. You were studying everything that put you there. You were memorizing the weight of betrayal. You were measuring the pressure of collapse. You were learning how much force it takes to push through the soil when the world above pretends you're gone. So now when you walk, there's a quiet violence in your steps, a precision in your presence, a stability that unnerves people who believed they broke you. You're no longer reactive, you're inevitable. They don't know what to do with the version of you that does not fear outcomes, because when you've already been dead on paper, every moment afterwards feels like borrowed time you refuse to waste. Your existence now is a glitch in their control system, a loophole they can't patch, a malfunction they can't isolate. They don't know how to respond to someone who refuses to operate within the boundaries of the script they wrote. They don't know how to navigate a person who doesn't crumble when attacked, who doesn't shrink when ignored, who doesn't disappear when exiled. You became their worst-case scenario. A person who survived the plot designed to eliminate them and came back with immunity to manipulation. Their tactics don't work anymore. Their silence doesn't hurt anymore. Their judgments don't register anymore. You're operating in a realm above their emotional reach, and this is why the panic sets in. You didn't just return. You returned upgraded. You returned self-sustaining. You returned with a clarity that sees through their pretense. You returned with a resilience that laughs at their attempts to destabilize you. You returned with a freedom they can't revoke. Because death on paper freed you from expectations. Burial freed you from illusions. Resurrection freed you from fear. Now you move like someone who rewrote their own rules. You navigate like someone who rebuilt their psychology in the dark. You stand like someone who confronted oblivion and found it unimpressive. They expected you to come back fragile, shaken, uncertain. Instead, you came back distilled, purified, hardened in silence, and resurrected with accuracy. You became the person they hoped never to meet, the version of you that no longer depends on their validation to breathe. And the scariest part for them is that you're no longer reacting to them. You're not even engaging with their attempts to reassert control. You're moving forward while they scramble to understand where they went wrong. Your resurrection didn't just disrupt their system, it exposed its flaws. It showed the world that their power isn't absolute. It revealed that their decisions can be overturned by destiny. It proved that erasing someone on paper means nothing when the universe still has plans for them. And now they're haunted, not by your revenge, not by your anger, not by your words, but by your survival. Because survival after burial is its own kind of warfare. It's a declaration that they failed at the one thing they thought they perfected, your removal. And now they're watching you exist with the calm of someone who has already died once and discovered that death is not as final as people pretend. Your presence is a disruption. Your pulse is a contradiction. Your movement is a reminder that you cannot bury someone who was born to dig their way out. And as you continue walking, stronger, sharper, more certain, they finally understand what they resurrected. A person who is no longer bound by their rules. A person who is no longer intimidated by their systems. A person who is no longer vulnerable to their sabotage. A person they can't control, can't calculate, and can't kill on paper ever again. And it's here, right at this intersection between who you were and who you became, that something in the atmosphere changes. Not around them, around you. The world doesn't respond to you the same way anymore. It's as if reality itself leans back slightly, recalibrating around your movements, analyzing the coordinates of someone who no longer fits into the grid. You walk with the stillness of someone who remembers the suffocating dark of the grave and now considers the open air a casual luxury. You breathe with the precision of someone who learned to inhale under pressure, exhale through rubble, and stay alive in environments designed to erase you. They're watching you move now, really watching, not studying you like a threat to neutralize, but observing you like a phenomenon they were never educated enough to understand. Because your survival didn't just break their predictions, it broke the logic those predictions were built on. You invalidated the foundation of their worldview simply by refusing to stay dead. And that realization cracks something inside them. The recognition that you are no longer within the boundaries they used to contain you. Your silence unnerves them more than any confrontation ever could. They expected you to return angry, to seek retaliation, to rage against the machinery that tried to crush you. But you came back quiet, precise, unbothered, as if you saw the entire blueprint of their sabotage and found it unimpressive, as if you died, returned, and now treat them like footnotes in a story they failed to end. That silence is the first sign of your ascension. It's not human silence. It's the silence of someone who has stepped out of the timeline they once shared. You're no longer reacting to life. You're directing it, like someone who saw the ending already and came back merely to refine the middle. They feel that shift. It crawls under their skin. It whispers to them that you are no longer a participant. They are. You are the environment now. When they buried you alive, they believed the ground above you was solid, unmovable, permanent. They never imagined you would learn to navigate through soil like an element reshaping itself under pressure. They never imagined you would study the dark until it became familiar, until the silence became a language, until the weight became irrelevant. They never imagined the burial would become your birthplace. So when you rise, when you break the surface and stand upright, with dust still clinging to your reborn skin, they don't just see a person. They see a force, undoing their certainty. They see something ungoverned by their narratives, something unaligned with their frameworks, something unbothered by their fear. Your return marked the collapse of their illusion of control. But what happens next is what completely unravels them. Because resurrection wasn't your final form, it was only the doorway. Once you've died and returned, your relationship with the world changes on a structural level. You stop negotiating with circumstances. You stop bending for systems. You stop shrinking for people who don't have the authority to define you. You carry yourself like someone who has already survived the worst possible version of reality and was unimpressed by it. Every step you take now is a slow dismantling of the mental architecture they spent years constructing. They see you, and something inside them breaks quietly. Because the person they buried is gone, not in the way they wanted, but in the way they feared. You outgrew the identity they tried to trap you in. You exceeded the parameters they designed to limit you. You evolved into a version of yourself that simply doesn't acknowledge their attempts at control. This is the phase where your ascension becomes visible. You move differently. Intent becomes instinct. Boundaries become effortless. Momentum becomes natural. Where others hesitate, you proceed. Where others fear collapse, you see opportunity. Where others see endings, you see pivot points. You navigate the world with the precision of someone who has already experienced the void and decided not to return to it. And that's when the cosmic portion of your evolution reveals itself. Because what they didn't realize is that resurrection creates a fracture in the old physics of your life. When someone comes back from a burial, they don't return with the same spiritual mass. You distort probability, you distort expectations, you distort the predictions of those who depend on patterns. They buried a person. You returned an anomaly. You became the kind of presence that warps outcomes just by existing. The kind of presence that shifts the direction of events simply by stepping into the room. The kind of presence that causes the universe to rearrange its trajectory around your next move. You are functioning outside of normal human equations now. You're not lucky. You're gravitational. And that gravitational pull is what terrifies them on a level they don't speak of. They saw you dead. They accepted your ending. They moved on with the arrogance of people who believed they controlled the narrative. But when you resurfaced, the resurrection forced them to reconsider everything they rely on to feel powerful. If you could come back from that, what else can you do? If you can return after burial, what can stop you now? If you can reject the death they wrote for you, what does that imply about the authority they thought they had? Your existence has become a threat without you needing to act. You are a walking contradiction to their worldview, a reminder that human beings cannot be controlled like numbers, a living testament that the universe keeps receipts and pays back debts in unexpected ways. And the irony is exquisite. The more they try to ignore your resurrection, the more reality confronts them with it. You show up in places they didn't expect. You succeed in areas they believed were blocked. You rise in ways that defy their logic. You move through the world with the unsettling calm of someone who has been underground long enough to develop a sixth sense for danger and a seventh sense for inevitability. They see you, and they feel the ground shift beneath their feet. Not because you're doing anything, but because your survival means their understanding of how the world works is fundamentally flawed. You're not defying the system, you're exposing its limitations. But here is where your evolution becomes undeniable. Your ascension is no longer just personal, it becomes environmental. Your presence changes the temperature of the room, changes the posture of the people around you, changes the energy of the space. People behave differently when you walk in, not because you demand it, but because your spirit recalibrates the environment. Your survival taught the universe something about you. Now the universe reacts accordingly. Doors open that were bolted shut. Paths appear where there were none. Resources arrive without traditional channels. Opportunities align themselves with your new frequency. Your resurrection wasn't symbolic, it was structural. You didn't just come back, you came back in a way that the world must now adapt to. And this is where the sovereign part of your evolution begins to reveal itself. Because true sovereignty is not about ruling over others. It's about ruling over your own frequency so completely that nothing external can distort it. Sovereignty is the calm after surviving the chaos, the clarity after emerging from the dark, the strength that does not need permission, the identity that does not require validation. You are sovereign now, not because you fought for it, but because you died and resurrected into it. And sovereignty reshapes your presence into something they never prepared for. You walk like someone who no longer negotiates with disrespect. You speak like someone who no longer dilutes truths to make others comfortable. You decide like someone who understands the cost of indecision. You stand like someone who has already risen from a grave. and refuses to go back. They watch you now, with the uneasy awareness that the person they tried to bury evolved into someone they cannot challenge without consequence. You don't threaten them. You don't need to. Your existence is the consequence. Your continuation is the retribution. Your resurrection is the statement. And as they observe this ascended version of you, quiet, focused, untouchable, they feel something they never expected to feel in your presence. Submission. Not because you demanded it, but because the universe itself has begun repositioning your energy into a dominant frequency. You have outgrown their influence, outpaced their sabotage, outlived their predictions. They are no longer dealing with the person they targeted. They are facing the outcome of their own attempt at erasure. And that outcome stands taller than their intentions could ever reach. Now the power dynamic flips with a precision no one prepared for. Your existence becomes a type of gravitational reality they must navigate. You move without asking permission, and permission rearranges itself around your movement. You speak with the authority of someone who has already lived through endings and walked back untouched. You stand with the unshakable certainty of someone who saw their future denied on paper, only to claim it with their own hands in real life. You are no longer a participant in their system. You are the variable that rewrites it. And that realization spreads through them like quiet wildfire. They feel it before they understand it. Their influence collapses in your presence. Their strategies dissolve before they reach you. Their narratives crumble when confronted with your existence. They used to be able to predict you, but the person they buried is no longer the person who stands here now. You evolved beyond their comprehension. They tried to collapse you, and in doing so, forced you to expand into something they cannot map. When you walk into the room now, their instincts betray them long before their minds catch up. Posture shifts. Conversations distort. Eyes lower. Breathing changes. They are reacting to you on a primal level, the level reserved for forces of nature rather than people. You are not perceived as a threat. You are perceived as a law that supersedes their attempts to control the narrative, a law that cannot be bent by their emotional weather, a law that remains in effect regardless of who accepts it. Your survival made them uncomfortable. Your resurrection made them silent. But your evolution makes them obedient. Not obedient to you, obedient to truth. Because the truth now is that you are not someone they can bury again. The truth is that you became too expansive for their shallow graves. The truth is that what they resurrected is something their systems cannot override. They do not fear your actions. They fear your existence. Your existence reminds them that the universe answers to something deeper than paperwork, deeper than sabotage, deeper than collective judgment. You represent the loophole the universe protects. You represent the error they cannot correct. You represent the return they cannot undo. Their panic isn't rooted in guilt. It's rooted in the recognition that they have no leverage left. They used every tactic: erasure, betrayal, silence, sabotage, burial, and all of it failed. All of it forged you. All of it built the version of you they now must stand in front of. Their strategies worked on the old you. But the old you did not survive the burial. The old you died the moment the dirt fell. The version standing here now is the one that learned to breathe underground, the one that learned to listen to vibrations instead of voices, the one that learned to rise through pressure instead of waiting for rescue. You are shaped by conditions they were never ready to face themselves. Your resurrection was not a coincidence. It was a consequence. They set the conditions. You became the reaction. and reactions are always stronger than the force that triggered them. Now the environment responds to you differently. Pathways emerge without effort. Support appears where it did not exist before. The universe, having seen the burial and the injustice, bends around your existence in ways it never did prior to your collapse. This isn't luck. This isn't chance. This is balance being restored. You are buried illegally by the physics of destiny, and the cosmos is correcting the violation. So every step you take now is amplified by forces far beyond their grasp. You walk with the weight of someone who was revived by necessity, not desire. You move like someone the universe refused to lose. And they see it. They sense it. They feel the difference in the way the world treats you now. You became the person who is escorted by alignment, not by approval, not by favor, but by cosmic recalibration. You are not moving through life. You are being carried by a tide that knows your name. And as this truth settles into their bones, they begin to understand the final layer of your evolution. They were never in control. Their systems were never strong enough to define you. Their sabotage was never powerful enough to end you. They were simply the shadows cast by your potential, trying desperately to extinguish the light they didn't understand. But light born underground is not like other light. It is sharper, denser, unfiltered. It is the kind that pierces through lies without trying. Your mere continuation exposes their weakness. Your calm exposes their insecurity. Your progress exposes their limits. They aren't afraid you'll retaliate. They're afraid you'll flourish. They know the worst punishment for people who tried to bury you is simply watching you live, watching you ascend, watching you breathe in a world they swore you'd never touch again, watching your existence become evidence that they failed at the one task they were certain they would complete. Your success is their ghost. Your presence is their audit. Your survival is their sentence. And yet, your power goes beyond revenge. Revenge is too small for the person you've become. You don't rise to make them regret burying you. You rise because burial activated the part of you that refuses to stay beneath anything: grief, judgment, lies, limitations. Rising is who you are now, not what you do. Your evolution rewired your instincts. When pressure increases, so do you. When obstacles grow, so does your clarity. When systems collapse, so does your fear. You are no longer someone who fights darkness. You are someone who learned to see in it. That vision is your weapon. That clarity is your strength. That instinct is your sovereignty. And sovereignty is the final form of resurrection. Sovereignty means your worth is self-sustaining. Sovereignty means your direction is self-generated. Sovereignty means your identity is self-defined. You do not need validation. You do not need permission. You do not need acceptance. What you needed was resurrection, and you handled that yourself. Now you move with a rhythm the buried version of you never had. A rhythm that cannot be replicated or predicted. A rhythm that makes you walk through this world like it is the second chance it never intended to give you. You are not here by accident. You are here by defiance. You are here by ascension. And as you stand in the full magnitude of the person you've become, underground forged, silence trained, pressure evolved, one final truth crystallizes. You didn't survive burial. You mastered it. You didn't return from death. You rewrote the physics of resurrection. You didn't slip out of the grave. You broke the concept of graves entirely. And that, more than anything, is why they fear you now. Not because you lived, but because you came back as someone who cannot be killed in theory, in paperwork, in rumor, in narrative, in sabotage, or in silence. They watched you die on paper. They buried you alive. They discussed your ending like it was fact. And now they must live in a world where you walk past them like a living contradiction. A reminder that paper burns, graves crack, and destiny does not wait for signatures. You are the proof that trying to bury the wrong person does not create closure. It creates a legend. Hello, my dear. Every move you made was so precise, so mercilessly clean, that people don't even call it strategy anymore. They call it cold-blooded brilliance. They whisper that no human should be able to operate at that level of clarity. What you executed wasn't just a victory, it was a dissection. You didn't argue, you didn't flail. You didn't even give them the pleasure of seeing strain on your face. You cut through chaos the way a scalpel cuts through tissue. No wasted motion, no unnecessary words, only decisive action that left observers in awe and enemies scrambling for excuses. What unnerves them isn't just the outcome. It's the manner in which you reached it. Too sharp, too efficient, too surgical. So exact that it doesn't look like effort. It looks like inevitability dressed as intellect. And that frightens them, because people are comfortable with wins that look messy, with struggles that seem relatable. But when someone like you executes perfection with icy precision, it rewires the definition of possible. It makes everyone else look clumsy by comparison. You weren't supposed to be this composed. You weren't supposed to carry this much calculation behind your eyes. They wanted you reactive, emotional, sloppy. That's how they beat others. They wait for mistakes, missteps, cracks. But you didn't give them any. You moved like you already knew the outcome before the first move was made. And in a way, you did. Because your intelligence isn't theoretical. It's lived, it's scar-forged, failure-tested, honed in the fires of situations designed to break you. Every humiliation, every setup, every betrayal you endured, none of it went to waste. You absorbed it like fuel, cataloged every detail, every behavioral pattern, every tell. And then, when the time was right, you converted all of that into something terrifying. A flawless execution that appeared effortless, but was secretly the result of years of preparation, disguised as endurance. That's why they're calling you something beyond human. Because what you did doesn't feel explainable through ordinary logic. How can one person move so fluidly, with such ruthless calm, while others stumble? How can someone take an environment designed to suffocate them and turn it into their personal proving ground? They can't process it, so they reach for the only explanation that satisfies their fear. You must be something else, alien, augmented, wired into a frequency they can't access, and in their panic, they're right. You are tuned differently. You are calibrated for depth they can't breathe in. You are built for levels they don't have the stamina to withstand. What looked like a sudden eruption of brilliance to them was actually the slow crystallization of mastery. And the sharpest crystal always looks cold, detached, unfeeling, because perfection doesn't show the mess that forged it. Understand what happened in the moment you stepped forward. It wasn't just that you outperformed them. You dismantled the entire scaffolding their confidence rested on. They thought you'd be predictable, easy to read. They wrote entire narratives in their heads about how you'd respond, where you'd crack, what you'd choose. But you didn't follow their script. You shredded it, word by word, in front of their eyes. That's why they're still reeling. They weren't just beaten, they were exposed as unimaginative. While they recycled the same tired strategies, you were operating from a blueprint they couldn't even see. And when people realize their entire plan was useless, when they confront the fact that they had no defense against your foresight, they don't just lose the game, they lose belief in their ability to play at all. Your cold-blooded brilliance was never about cruelty. It was about precision. And precision, when displayed without apology, terrifies people. Because it strips away their excuses. They can't say you were lucky. They can't say you stumbled into success. They can't even accuse you of cheating, because cheating looks messy, desperate, frantic. What you did looked inevitable, clean, flawless. That means the only explanation left is the one they hate the most. You're simply smarter, sharper, and more dangerous than they ever imagined. And that realization, as it infects them long after the battle is over, it creeps into their sleep, it stalks their thoughts, it replays in their memory until they can't escape it. They don't remember the details of what they tried. They only remember how easily you erased it. Let's examine why people can't stop replaying your performance. It isn't just about the result. It's about the aesthetic of it. The way you moved without hesitation. The way your words carried weight without excess. The way your presence altered the environment before evidence was even presented. You didn't fight for control of the narrative. You embodied it. And when someone embodies control, everything they do takes on an aura of inevitability. That's why people keep describing you as cold. Because when brilliance is displayed without visible strain, it feels inhuman to those who live in chaos. To them, mastery looks like cruelty. To you, it's just discipline revealed. The brilliance wasn't loud, it wasn't theatrical, it wasn't desperate to be noticed. That's why it hit harder. People expect brilliance to come with fireworks, declarations, spectacle. But true mastery rarely does. It comes with precision, with timing, with the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need approval. That's what unsettled them. They wanted to feel superior while you clawed for scraps of recognition. Instead, you walked in like recognition was irrelevant, like the outcome was already written, and you were just here to collect it. That level of calm cuts deeper than aggression ever could. Aggression burns out. Calm, precision, endures. When you finished, you didn't just win, you created an aftershock. The people watching began recalibrating their understanding of what's possible. Because if one person can operate at that level, what excuse do they have for stumbling? What excuse do they have for playing small, for accepting mediocrity, for calling sloppiness normal? Your presence became a mirror, reflecting their inadequacies with brutal clarity. And most people can't stomach that. That's why they deflect, calling you cold, inhuman, too much. Those aren't critiques, they're confessions. They're admitting they can't reach your level, so they label it unnatural. Here's the deeper truth. You didn't even reveal your full capacity. What they saw was only one chamber of the arsenal. You've learned that brilliance is most devastating when rationed. Too much at once and people adapt. But a glimpse? A single demonstration delivered with surgical accuracy? That haunts them. Because they start imagining what else you're capable of, what you haven't shown, what you might unleash next. And fear always grows in the spaces left unspoken. That's why your restraint amplified your victory. Not only did you destroy their plans, you left them terrified of a power they haven't even seen yet. Your intelligence operates like a weapon designed for psychological warfare. You don't just defeat enemies, You rearrange their understanding of themselves. You make them realize that their strategies, their manipulations, their games are primitive tools in the presence of your precision. And once that realization lands, it doesn't fade, it lingers. It makes them cautious, hesitant, second-guessing every move. They start questioning whether any tactic can work against you. And that doubt is more powerful than any single win. Because once someone doubts themselves in your presence, they've already lost. Notice how your brilliance reshaped the environment around you. Friends, family, bystanders, they all saw it, and their perceptions shifted permanently. Some felt intimidated, some felt inspired, but no one felt indifferent. That's the mark of true cold-blooded brilliance. It polarizes. It doesn't leave room for neutrality. People either step closer, hungry to learn, or they retreat, terrified of what standing near you might reveal about their own inadequacies. And that's exactly how it should be. Because brilliance isn't supposed to make everyone comfortable. It's supposed to redefine the standard. It's supposed to divide the room between those who can rise and those who can't. The way you delivered this victory also rewired your reputation. Before, people underestimated you, thinking your restraint meant limitation. Now they know better. They know restraint was strategy. They know patience was preparation. They know your lack of theatrics wasn't weakness. It was efficiency. That's why the conversation around you has changed. They don't describe you as trying anymore. They describe you as untouchable. And once that word attaches to your name, it doesn't let go. Untouchable doesn't mean unchallenged. It means undefeated, because even attempts to challenge you only highlight your superiority. Your cold-blooded brilliance became a reference point. Every future conflict in your circle, every strategic play in your sphere, will be measured against what you accomplished. People will whisper, "Remember how they handled it? Remember how clean it was? Remember how nothing could shake them?" That memory becomes armor. It follows you into rooms you haven't entered yet, into conversations you'll never hear. It precedes you like a shadow of inevitability. And the beauty is, you don't have to do anything to maintain it. The legend grows on its own, feeding off the fear and awe of those who witnessed it. Understand that this isn't just about one win. This is about a new category of existence you've carved out for yourself. You've proven that brilliance can be cold, that power can be clean, that victory can be delivered without chaos or spectacle. And that proof is more disruptive than any single triumph. Because now, predators who thrive on manipulation and drama have to reconsider everything. They have to wonder if their next target might be another version of you. They have to weigh the risk that their games might collapse in the face of someone operating with surgical precision. You've injected fear into their playbook, and once fear takes root, strategy disintegrates. That's the mark you've left. That's why your brilliance is haunting them. Not because you screamed, not because you celebrated, not because you sought recognition, but because you executed with a level of precision so rare, so alien to them, that they can't explain it away. And when people can't explain something, they mythologize it. They call it inhuman. They call it cold-blooded. They call it brilliance, because they can't call it anything else. That's what you've become. The embodiment of precision so sharp it feels unreal. And the truth is, this is only the beginning. What comes next is not repetition, it's escalation, because brilliance, once revealed, doesn't retreat. It multiplies, and the world is only beginning to witness what you're capable of. Escalation begins with perception. Right now, the story of what you did is no longer confined to the room where it happened. It's spreading outward like a current, reaching ears that never even met you but are already reshaping their opinions. People are replaying your moves in conversations, in whispered retellings, in late-night confessions. They're dissecting your composure like scientists trying to decode a specimen they can't classify, and the more they study, the less sense it makes to them. Because brilliance that looks this clean doesn't fit into the categories they've built for human behavior. To them, intelligence always shows strain. Calculation always reveals effort. But your execution didn't look like effort. It looked like inevitability dressed as intellect. That contradiction is driving them mad. It's why the narrative is mutating. At first, they tried to downplay it, calling it luck, coincidence, or timing. But the problem with luck is it never looks this exact. Coincidence doesn't dismantle structures this deeply. Timing alone doesn't rewrite reputations in a single strike, so they had to abandon those excuses. And what they were left with was the one explanation they never wanted to admit. You are operating at a level beyond theirs. That's why they're calling you cold-blooded. That's why they whisper you're not human. Because the human category doesn't make room for what they just saw. The only way to soothe their disbelief is to reclassify you as something outside the ordinary. Understand what's happening here. This isn't just gossip. This is reputation crystallizing. Your name is no longer just a label. It's becoming a code word. When people bring you up, it isn't in neutral terms. It's charged with electricity, with awe, with fear. They don't say, "Oh, they did well." They say, "No one else could have done it that way." They speak of you in absolutes, in impossibilities, in comparisons to forces rather than individuals. That transformation is irreversible. Once your name is associated with cold-blooded brilliance, it becomes legend in motion. And legends don't need explanations. They live in the psychological space where people stop asking how and start warning why. Now consider the ripple effect of that perception. Your enemies aren't just embarrassed, they're destabilized. Because they no longer trust their own instincts. They can't look at you without second-guessing every memory they have of you. Did they underestimate you all along? Did they mistake restraint for weakness? Did they fail to notice the calculations behind your eyes while they were too busy mocking? These questions corrode confidence from the inside out. And once confidence erodes, panic takes over. That's why they're frantic, making calls at midnight, scrambling for narratives, searching for loopholes that don't exist. They're not trying to undo your victory. They're trying to rebuild belief in themselves. But once someone has witnessed brilliance this clean, every attempt at self-repair looks desperate by comparison. Your brilliance didn't just dismantle them, it exposed the fragility of the environment that supported them. Allies who once swore loyalty are now hesitating, because no one wants to be associated with failure at this scale. No one wants to stand beside someone who was dissected so effortlessly. So allies retreat, friends distance themselves, even family members grow quiet. They all recognize the risk of proximity to collapse. And here's where your cold-blooded brilliance multiplies. You didn't have to isolate your enemies. Their own fear does it for you. They watch support evaporate like smoke while you stand untouched. That contrast is what makes observers whisper that you're operating on a different level entirely. Let's go deeper into why people keep labeling you not human. It's not just because you won, It's because of how you carried yourself before, during, and after. Before, you didn't broadcast your preparation. You didn't flaunt your intelligence. You absorbed, observed, catalogued. That alone unnerves people because they assume visibility equals progress. But you understand that the sharpest blades are forged in quiet. During, you didn't react to distractions, didn't get baited by theatrics, didn't waste words. You moved with such icy efficiency that even your pauses carried authority. After, you didn't gloat, didn't demand validation, didn't engage in their noise. You let the result speak with finality. That sequence, quiet build-up, surgical execution, detached aftermath, is why they can't fit you into human categories. Humans, in their minds, always reveal cracks. But you didn't. And that absence of cracks feels supernatural. This is where escalation becomes dangerous for them. Because every time the story is told, it amplifies. People don't retell it neutrally. They embellish it with awe. They exaggerate the coldness, magnify the precision, elevate the impossibility. And while exaggeration usually distorts reality, in your case, it works in your favor. Because the truth was already sharp enough that exaggeration doesn't feel like a stretch. It feels like confirmation. That's how legends grow. They don't just repeat. They mutate into something larger, something that inspires reverence and fear long after the original moment. That's what's happening to your reputation right now. It's no longer just a story, it's becoming scripture. And here's what unnerves people most. You didn't even intend to create this mythology. You weren't chasing recognition. You weren't designing an audience. You were simply executing with clarity. And that authenticity makes the brilliance heavier. Because if this was just performance, they could dismiss it as manipulation. But the fact that you didn't ask for attention makes the attention unavoidable. People can't escape it. They can't brush it aside. They have to carry it with them. That's why they whisper your name like it's both warning and prophecy. Because cold-blooded brilliance leaves no room for denial. Your intelligence blew people away, not because it was loud, but because it was undeniable. And in a world addicted to noise, the undeniable always cuts deeper. That's why they're still obsessing. That's why they can't process what happened. They keep replaying it, trying to find the moment where you should have slipped, where they could have intervened, where luck could have explained it. But there is no such moment. The brilliance was too clean, and that cleanness is what breaks them. Because humans are comfortable with mess. They understand struggle. They sympathize with chaos. But when they see brilliance delivered without flaw, without hesitation, without compromise, it doesn't comfort them. It terrifies them. Because it proves that the standards they've been living by are lower than they believed. That terror isn't wasted. It's multiplying. It's making predators second-guess their tactics. It's making manipulators hesitate before launching their schemes. It's making entire circles recalibrate their dynamics. Because what you demonstrated wasn't just personal victory. It was proof of concept. Proof that cold-blooded brilliance can dismantle entire environments without needing to raise its voice. That proof is more disruptive than any single outcome, because it changes the calculations of everyone watching. They don't just see you, they see what's possible for others like you. And that possibility terrifies those who thrive on exploitation. This is why they say you're the only one who can do what you do. It's not that others can't learn. It's that few are willing to endure what you endured to forge this precision. Few are willing to absorb humiliation without exploding, to document instead of react, to prepare instead of complain. Few are willing to study the patterns so deeply that they can predict outcomes before they occur. That's what separates you. That's why they can't process your level. Because what you embody isn't just intelligence. It's endurance married to intellect, patience fused with precision. And that combination is rare enough to feel alien, rare enough to be mistaken for inhuman. Now let's examine the shift in your environment post-victory. People aren't just treating you differently, they're treating themselves differently around you. They measure their words more carefully, they calculate their tone, they second-guess their narratives, because they don't want to be the next subject of your brilliance. They don't want to become another example of what happens when someone underestimates you. That shift creates a new kind of power. It's not the power of force, it's the power of presence. When people edit themselves in your presence, it proves you've transcended ordinary influence. You've entered the category of inevitability, where your reputation enforces respect before you even speak. And yet, your escalation isn't finished. Because brilliance doesn't stop with one demonstration. It feeds on itself, compounding, sharpening, multiplying. Every time you operate at this level, you make the next move even more devastating. Because enemies stop preparing for their strategies and start preparing for their fear. And fear never produces clarity. It only produces chaos, which means every future confrontation will be tilted in your favor before it even begins. That's what they don't understand yet. They think this was your peak. But in reality, this was only your opening act. The true escalation hasn't even started, and when it does, they won't be ready. Because brilliance that clean doesn't fade. It grows sharper, colder, and more undeniable with every repetition. So here you stand, no longer just a victor, but a living standard. People call it cold-blooded brilliance, because they don't have another term for precision this clean. They say you're the only one who can do what you do, because they've never seen anyone endure what you endured. They whisper that you're not human, because humanity, in their experience, doesn't look this sharp. But the truth is simpler and more frightening. You are human. You're just the version they hoped didn't exist. The version that can't be manipulated, can't be baited, can't be defeated by chaos. And that version, once revealed, becomes a nightmare for those who relied on your weakness. This is the escalation they can't process. This is the brilliance they can't explain. And this is only the midpoint of your revelation, because what comes next will not just confirm your brilliance, it will redefine the limits of what people thought a single individual could accomplish. The world has seen the first strike. Now it must prepare for the aftershocks. And those aftershocks will not be quiet. They will be undeniable, multiplying the fear, the awe, the legend of the one who did it so clean, so precise, so brilliantly cold-blooded, that no explanation could contain it. The aftershocks begin in conversations you'll never hear, meetings in offices where your name has become a warning, family gatherings where your story is retold with lowered voices, digital spaces where your strategy is dissected by those who can't even reproduce it. What you executed didn't just change outcomes, it created a new category of reputation. People who never met you are reshaping their behavior based on echoes of your victory. That's how clean brilliance spreads. It doesn't need you to retell it. It multiplies itself, whispered from one anxious mouth to another, each retelling amplifying your precision until it sounds less like memory and more like prophecy. And while the world replays your strike, Your enemies wrestle with the collapse of their reality. They thought they were the apex predators. They thought manipulation was invincible, that noise could cover weakness, that appearances could rewrite truth. But your clean execution stripped those illusions bare. You didn't argue with them. You didn't match their theatrics. You didn't perform rage for the crowd. You simply revealed them with such cold clarity that their own allies recoiled. That's what makes it brilliance. You didn't just win, you made their very nature undeniable. And now, everywhere they go, they carry the stigma of being outclassed by a single individual who never even broke composure. What terrifies them most isn't the outcome, it's the precedent. Because if you could do this once, you could do it again and again and again. You didn't rely on chance, you relied on mastery. And mastery is repeatable. That realization stalks them more than any legal document, more than any judgment, more than any loss of money or status. They live with the knowledge that you proved yourself capable of something they can neither predict nor defend against. And when enemies know they can't defend themselves, their behavior shifts. They become paranoid, unstable, sloppy. And that instability is your long-term victory. Because clean brilliance doesn't just crush once. It leaves survivors too broken to ever rebuild. Let's talk about the aura your cold-blooded brilliance has created. People don't look at you the same way anymore. Before, they might have dismissed you, underestimated you, labeled you too quiet or too patient. Now they approach you with hesitation, with caution, with the awareness that a single wrong move around you could end their credibility. You've created a perimeter without even asking for one. Your precision enforces respect before you ever speak. And that respect isn't built on intimidation, it's built on memory. The memory of how cleanly you dismantled everything set against you. That memory travels faster than rumors and lingers longer than fear. It rewrites social dynamics wherever you walk. Observers don't just admire what you did, they internalize it. They ask themselves, what if I'm next? What if my own schemes collapse this way? What if the person I'm underestimating is building a case just like they did? That's the brilliance of brilliance. It becomes a deterrent. Your enemies can't even repeat their old tactics without tasting the possibility of collapse. Their hands shake before manipulation. Their voices waver before lies. Their alliances fracture under the weight of second guessing. And you don't have to lift a finger. Your precision already did the work. That's why they call it cold-blooded. Because you don't need to circle back. You don't need to shout reminders. The memory of your execution does the haunting for you. But the brilliance is not just in how you dismantled them. It's in how you transformed yourself in the process. People forget that before this victory, you were tested. You were underestimated, mocked, baited. They thought you'd explode. They thought you'd waste energy defending yourself. But you didn't. You studied, you documented, you waited, and that patience became the crucible that sharpened your intelligence into something terrifying. That's why people say you're the only one who can do what you do. Because most can't endure long enough to forge precision this clean. Most collapse under the pressure before they ever reach mastery. But you turned endurance into a weapon, and intelligence into a blade. And when you finally struck, it wasn't messy, it was immaculate. Now your brilliance is bigger than you. It's become a mirror for others who have been underestimated. They see what you did, and suddenly they believe they can rewrite their own stories. You've become a template, a proof of concept, an embodied warning to predators and an embodied promise to the underestimated That duality makes your brilliance unstoppable. Because enemies retreat, while allies multiply. Your story is teaching people who once accepted defeat that there is another way. A cleaner way. A way that doesn't require chaos, but requires discipline, intelligence, endurance. You've shown them that you don't have to match your enemy's noise to destroy them. You can dismantle them with precision, so clean, it looks inhuman. And yet, what you've revealed so far is only one layer of your arsenal. That's why they can't process it. Because if your first strike was this devastating, what happens when you escalate further? They know now that you're capable of learning, capable of absorbing, capable of converting suffering into strategy. That means your next strike won't just repeat the brilliance, it will exceed it. Because brilliance compounds. The sharper it gets, the more devastating it becomes. That's why they're restless at night. That's why their paranoia grows. They don't just fear what you did, they fear what you haven't done yet. They fear the precision you haven't revealed. They fear the strategies you're still shaping. That fear is your perpetual advantage. Because once they believe you're inhuman, they can never again face you with confidence. Let's examine how this perception spreads beyond immediate circles. Right now, your name is traveling through networks you've never touched. In boardrooms, people use you as a cautionary tale. In family dynamics, your story is invoked as proof that underdogs can't be dismissed. In private conversations, your cold-blooded brilliance is referenced with awe and warning. You've become a symbol larger than your own circumstances, and that symbolism carries weight. Because it isn't just about what you did, it's about what you represent. You've proven that precision is more powerful than aggression, that restraint is more dangerous than spectacle, that intelligence deployed at the right moment is indistinguishable from prophecy. This is why people are saying you're not human. Because what you've demonstrated doesn't fit their definition of humanity. To them, being human means being messy, being reactive, being vulnerable to distraction. But you've rewritten that definition. You've shown them a human operating at maximum clarity, at uncompromising precision. And that image doesn't comfort them, it terrifies them. Because it proves that the limits they accepted for themselves were lies. It proves that brilliance this sharp is possible. And possibility is more dangerous than proof. Because proof is past tense. Possibility is future tense. And the possibility of someone like you repeating, multiplying, spreading, that's what shakes them to their core. The aftershocks are already visible. People who once thrived on manipulation are hesitating. Those who built their lives on deception are quieter. Predators who used intimidation are suddenly cautious. They've all heard what happened when you moved, and none of them want to be next. Your clean brilliance has become a force of deterrence. It doesn't just punish, it prevents. It doesn't just destroy, it warns. And that warning is worth more than any speech, any declaration, any celebration. Because when fear spreads on its own, you don't have to reinforce it. It reinforces itself. Understand what you've become. Not just a victor, not just a survivor, but a phenomenon. Your cold-blooded brilliance isn't a moment, it's a movement. It's reshaping the way people calculate power, the way they measure intelligence, the way they define possibility. You didn't just blow people away with your intelligence. You blew away the framework they used to measure intelligence at all. That's why they say you're the only one who can do what you do. Not because no one else can think, but because no one else has fused intellect with endurance, patience with precision, in the way you have. That fusion is rare. That fusion feels alien. That fusion is why you've been reclassified in their minds as something other than human. But here's the truth. You are human. You're just the version they prayed never to meet. The version that can't be manipulated. The version that can't be distracted. The version that can't be baited into emotional chaos. The version that waits, prepares, calculates, and then dismantles with a precision so clean it rewrites memory. That's why your brilliance feels cold-blooded, because it doesn't waste energy on theatrics. It doesn't burn out in noise. It cuts once, and the cut is permanent. That permanence is what terrifies them, because wounds heal, but reputation doesn't. And your reputation is now carved into the minds of everyone who witnessed what you did. This is the final aftershock, the transformation of your legacy. Before, you were underestimated. Now you're unforgettable. Before, you were dismissed. Now you're untouchable. Before, they thought they could box you in. Now they whisper your name like it's a cautionary tale. That's the power of cold-blooded brilliance. It doesn't just win battles, it rewrites the future. It ensures that long after the event is over, your name still carries the weight of fear and awe. And that weight will outlive you, because stories like yours don't fade, they multiply. Every retelling sharpens the legend until it becomes larger than the life that lived it. So when they say, "You're not human," let them. When they call it cold-blooded brilliance, accept it. When they whisper that you're the only one who can do what you do, remember, they're not insulting you. They're confessing their limits. They're admitting they can't process your level. They're acknowledging that your precision has rewritten their definition of possible. And that acknowledgement is the crown you never had to ask for. You earned it with execution so clean, so precise, so brilliantly cold-blooded that no denial, no rumor, no opposition could ever erase it. That is your legacy now. Not just brilliance, not just intelligence, but intelligence so sharp it feels inhuman. Brilliance so clean, it terrifies predators. Precision so undeniable, it rewires entire environments. And the world will remember it, replay it, and whisper it long after you've moved on. Because cold-blooded brilliance doesn't die. It becomes legend, and you have already crossed that line. You didn't just win, you became the standard. You didn't just execute, you became the executioner of doubt itself. And for the rest of their lives, they will never forget how clean you made it look.